Hi, I'm Wini Hwang. I am a foodie, a gamer, and a neurotic. I went to the Rhode Island School of Design for 1.5 years as an illustration major, and I was planning to go into the video game industry. When I was at RISD, I took a class at Brown, and I also took an ecology class under a Brown postdoc, which introduced me to a bat researcher named Dan Riskin. And I loved those two classes more than any other art class that I took at RISD, so obviously I had to transfer. That led me to my research position at BU, which was with the Kuntz Bat Lab. And that research position involved a lot of computer lab work and also some really crazy, awesome field work catching bats. Okay, so my advice is get experience like it's nobody's business. Because when I was in limbo between RISD and BU, I didn't know what I wanted to do, except I wanted to do something biology related. So I was considering vet school, med school, ecology research, something. But I didn't want to just sit around while I was figuring out my life. So while I was at home, I took classes 6 days out of the week. I worked at a poison control center and I worked at a vet hospital. And believe it or not, all the experiences I got doing that actually helped me get this job. So, get as much experience as you can, even if they seem unrelated. I think it's pretty important to get a research position, whether or not you're going to med school, because it's going to provide you tons of experience. You might get a connection into the field, and it might give you some skill sets that are going to be really useful for future positions. For example, I got my EMT license, which I can use to become an ER tech. And I know a lot of people who volunteered at hospitals long term, so those are also really great alternatives to research. BU is a huge school. Opportunities are not really going to just find you. You have to go and find them yourself. And so that means on days where you're just like, oh, I'm so tired, which you're definitely going to have, or just days where you're like, oh, this doesn't really seem that great of an opportunity, I'll just pass for the next one. No, you have to go for it, because when something actually pays off unexpectedly, you're going to be so glad that you actually took the initiative to do that. It's really important that you fight for yourself. Whether it's emailing professors about potential research positions or starting your own student organization, it's going to pay off. So my advice for the job search is apply early, because I applied to, I think, over 70 positions. The majority of them didn't respond. I got rejected from a bunch of them, and I think I got a total of 6 interviews, and then, of course, I got a job offer for 1. And even though I had a 4.0 GPA, this is kind of depressing. So my point is, don't get depressed, and definitely don't stop looking, because someone's going to respond to you eventually. I'm a research technician in an Aging Neuroscience Anesthesiology lab at Brigham and Women's Hospital. My coworker is awesome. She is also a BU grad, and she's a biochem major from 2011. And my bosses are 2 full-time clinical working anesthesiologists, so they're kind of never here. So a lot of the work we do is really independent, and so you go from raising baby rodents to harvesting their brains and preserving them, to slicing them, to staining them, to imaging them on that really, really cool microscope over there that's really, really expensive, but it's all ours, to analyzing the data that you get from those images. And then that data goes into research papers that my bosses put out. And I think it's really cool that our blood and sweat and tears is put into those papers, and it really, really shows how much independence that they give us. I highly, highly, highly recommend working within the Partners Network. Apart from the really, really obvious perks like discount movie tickets, discount gym membership, you get access to all the Longwood Medical Area shuttles that you see running around the city. You also get awesome health insurance. This is a Harvard Medical School affiliated hospital, so they really, really want you to learn and grow here. And they're looking for people who just graduated from undergrad, who eventually want to move on to something like med school or grad school. And that's what they were looking for when I was applying. And there are tons of these positions in this area. So eventually, after your 2 years are up, you're going to move on to something bigger and better, and you're going to have really great recommendation letters to build behind you. So I definitely recommend considering a partner's research position. Over there is where I slice brains, and we keep our brains over there. And then I have an office over there that I do the analysis. So usually we try to avoid going in here because it's supposed to be sterile. And we also grow stem cells and stuff. So if they get infected, that's really bad, like, brain infection, they'll just die. But this is very good for them. And that's why there's a UV light in the background to keep it sterile. It's a 14 micrometer sections of postnatal day 7 rats, which means baby rats. And so what we did was we fused the rats, harvested their brains, and then I had to freeze them and then slice them in that machine over there. The little pointy things are the dentate gyrus, and below that's the thalamus, and then we also image the frontal cortex. And yeah. Ready? Okay. This huge gray thing is our negative 80-degree freezer where we keep our brain slices, and this is really, really cold and hard to hold. So I'm going to show that. Yeah. Okay, so these are our Legos. Actually, they are the blocks that the antibodies come in. They ship them to us in these little blocks, and then apparently you can take them apart and build buildings of them. So we call this our little antibody carnival.